At the start, it's easy when motivation is super high and you just started it, and there's a lot of novelty. But as the weeks go by, right, you realize that it gets harder and harder and harder as life happens. So typically, what happens is after a while, that doesn't happen anymore.
Since we're at the topic of goals, right? You're talking about goals. I wanted to ask you. I believe in the book you mentioned something about goals with system versus goals with motivation, right? And how motivation doesn't last, right? What you need instead is systems. Tell us more about that. Like why is system more important than motivation? And what is motivation to you? And how important is motivation? Because I think everyone is so focused on motivation nowadays.
I think we definitely need motivation. We want to feel motivated to do something. But the problem is motivation isn't sustainable. We cannot depend on motivation every single day in order to get us to our goal, especially if our goals tend to be long-term. Take weight loss, for example, or even like bodybuilding. So when I wanted to get fitter and to actually start weightlifting and bodybuilding, there's one way of doing it, which is basically you wake up every day and then you commit to maybe doing an hour, and you try to fit it into your schedule, and you try to have that every single day. When that happens, you realize a few things come to your mind. Every time you wake up, you need to ask yourself, hey, should I do that today? When should I do that? What should I do? All these thoughts are processed in your mind. And it tends to get, it tends to be in battle with a lot of other things that are on our plate for that day. It's like, oh, I have this client project that I absolutely must do. There's a deadline that I need to rush for. My family is asking me to help them with this errand, this and that, right? And so on this whole long list of priorities, you start to realize that the things that require motivation needs us to really, really fight for it in order to happen. At the start, it's easy when motivation is super high and you just started it, and there's a lot of novelty. But as the weeks go by, right, you realize that it gets harder and harder and harder as life happens. So typically, what happens is after a while, that doesn't happen anymore. The other way of doing it is to commit to really having a very systematic approach to it. So if, for example, your goal, your fitness goal is perhaps either to lose weight, lose fat, or to build muscle, or to whatever, right? Let's say to build muscle. If I am to say want to get bigger, put on more muscle, I will have a long-term goal. Maybe instead of having a fixed amount of weight increase, a mass increase, I could go by a strength approach as well. Maybe at the end of 1 year, I want to bench 100 kilos maybe, and then we can just break it down, right? If I want to reach 100 kilos as a 1 rep max in a year, and then maybe right now I'm doing like 60 kilos, what does it take for me to increase by 40 kilograms of weight? And what kind of approach do I need? Then we can start understanding, okay, so if that's the case, right, we need to go perform at least like 5 sets every single training session. And because we want to rest, and because we want to have the sustainability, we don't want to burn ourselves out, maybe we have 1 exercise or 2 exercises a week. And then we track our progress. And every month we can see whether or not we are increasing or decreasing or staying the same. And we schedule all these things also in our calendars so that we know that every Tuesday at 5 p.m. is our gym session. And just like any other appointments that we make, we're going to make time for it. It's like how we have meetings at like 2 p.m. when we meet. I know that my calendar has to be clear and nothing else matters except coming here for the session with you. Same thing with a gym session. Every single week at 5 p.m. Tuesdays, I'm going to be at the gym. I'm going to be committed for that hour. All that I'm doing is exercise, training, and then after that I'm done. And that's it, right? So that's a very simple way of implementing a system for us to get to our goals. And I think that's the difference between the two.
So it sounds like habits as well, right? So what's the difference between habits and systems?
Habits are systems, because when you define it, systems are actually just a repeatable set of actions that get you to a certain result. And if you think about it, that basically is a habit.
Got it. So basically repeatable set of actions, right?
Yes.
To get you to the results rather than relying on that initial motivation, right? Sometimes like we feel like it, we don't feel like it. I think I always tell people like, it's like, you know, when at the beginning, when you're young, you don't feel like brushing your teeth, right? Your parents are kind of like force you to brush your teeth. But once it becomes a habit, you brush your teeth every morning, whether you feel like it or not. It becomes a habit.
Yeah.
Right. Would you consider that as a system, for example?
Yeah, totally. It totally is a system. I actually went to try something out because I realized that I love drinking coffee in the mornings. So to me, I was thinking coffee stains your teeth, right? So why not brush my teeth after I drink coffee rather than before I drink coffee?
Yeah.
And so I decided to just change it up. I didn't have a system. All my life, I woke up and brushed my teeth. Now I wake up, I have coffee, and then I brush my teeth. The problem is when you drink coffee, I don't know about you, but like even my coffee right now there's still a bit left. And so I'm not done with my coffee yet. And after I adopted that new way of doing things, I realized I kept forgetting to brush my teeth. I would go a few days without brushing my teeth. And that showed me that it was a terrible system. I couldn't rely on that because once you rely on memory, that you say, okay, I got to remember to brush my teeth after I drink coffee, it's a terrible, terrible system. And so that's why good system where we don't have to think about things, where it happens automatically, where there's very, very little resistance. For example, wake up and brush your teeth. That is a simple system that people can follow and stick to.
Okay. Yeah. So how can we make this actionable for some examples, maybe for those people who are watching? So if I want to create a system in my company, so for example, instead of so let's say I have a certain sales goal, right? So instead of, using the whole analogy of brushing teeth, we just have to replace that with something else, right? So perhaps like meeting to improve on the sales system, or maybe churning out a certain number of ad copy. Is that what you're talking about? Like every single week, so that it becomes something like a routine for the company?
Totally. Because when we look at sales, right, there are so many things that happen in sales. One is the actual prospecting. And then after that, there's a whole pipeline that happens, right? So we can just look at it from any angle. Let's say pipeline, right? Pipeline is usually one of the longest journeys. When you first prospect somebody and engage them, they are typically not ready to buy. Either wrong time, wrong place, not they are committed to something else, they have an existing contract, whatever. They're not ready. Doesn't mean that they don't want to work with you. They're just, it's the wrong time and all that. And so there's a pipeline now. What happens is usually people say that, okay, I will, I'll come back and talk to this person after a while. And then we put it into a notepad or put it in maybe even a calendar, but we forget about it because there's no follow-up. We don't put it in a system. A system is something that could be a CRM, it could be a scheduling tool, it could be anything that tells us, without us remembering it, 6 months later, 12 months later, or whatever amount of months later, to come back and to touch base with that person again. It could even be an automated thing where a computer system actually does it for us, sends out emails, sends out SMSs or whatever. And so there's this constant engagement at the right time with the prospects that we have in our pipeline. And this is just a simple way of doing a system for sales, right? There are other aspects as well. And so I think the understanding is to understand what the intent is and to see how we can actually create something that is repeatable, create something that, everyone can follow, everyone in your team can follow, and that, mistakes are not made. Yeah, that's how I do it.
Thanks for watching this video, and please remember to comment below what's your biggest takeaway from the interview. I also appreciate the thumbs up for this video and consider subscribing to this channel for more videos like this. That's all I have for you today. Bye for now.